Folks, should desperate sellers take priority? I'll explain what I mean and then get into the latest home prices and insights for the City of Toronto for week ending September 24th, 2025. If you want to speak directly with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really easy to speak with me. Below this video, in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. So let me explain what's happening. I'm really going to need your help here in your comments below. Recently, with our buyer clients, we went to go see a property. The listing agent was going to be at the property to meet us there and to show us around. Now, for some listings, this is normal for some listings for certain specific situations where the listing agent is there and the buyer's agent, which in this case was me, and the buyers are not really allowed to go through the property on their own. And it's often for the listing agent to explain certain features of the property, special features. So we meet the listing agent there and we're walking through the property. She's not really saying anything. She's kind of more like a chaperone, to be honest, and walking. She was pleasant, but she's basically just following us as we walk through the property. Now, in most showings, these clients, we don't do a lot of talking just because we don't know if we're ever being recorded. We do have conversations. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? Is this space going to work for you? This kitchen looks a bit dated, whatever the case may be. So we speak generally, but we never know, like I said, if we're being recorded. So it's never, oh, I love this. This is the perfect house. This is the one, we want to put an offer in. It's never those kinds of conversations in the house. Well, with the listing agent following us, can you imagine? There's even less conversation. So I didn't know whether my clients were actually really liking this property or not. Now, I had a feeling that it probably wasn't for them just because, I've got some experience working with them. But as we're in the foyer, kind of putting our shoes on, getting ready to leave, saying goodbye to the listing agent asks if she can speak with us outside in the driveway. Little bit strange, but sure, why not? So we're outside and she says, look, I'm not sure how you felt about this property, but I have another listing just a few streets over. And have you had a chance to see it yet? So just to keep things organized, this house that we just went to go see, let's call that house number 1. And the other property she's talking about that she's got listed, let's call that house number 2. And we are familiar with that house number 2, from the MLS. We've seen it on the MLS. We haven't been in the home, and we've seen that it's been on the market for a while. The price point is higher, significantly enough higher that my clients just didn't want to go see it. So we didn't go see it. And I told the agent that, yes, we're familiar with the property. We haven't seen it, mostly because of the price point that they're at right now. And she says, well, I can tell you that those sellers are very open-minded, and you could buy that house probably for what this house number 1, would sell for. This was a revelation. This was a little bit of a shock. And we're like, oh. And so we say our goodbyes. And the minute my clients get in their car and drive away, they're phoning me. And we're talking about that situation. And I found it kind of strange that we're seeing one house, and that agent obviously is there to sell that house and represents those sellers. But she doesn't even know if we like that house yet enough to put in an offer, but she's kind of steering us towards another listing and really trying to get my clients excited about that house number 2. We can get it for the same price. And so after I speak with my clients, I call the listing agent and I basically start trying to find out what's going on. I ask a series of questions. We get in a conversation. And what it boils down to is that house number 2, those sellers are in a financial mess, and they're basically in dire straits, and they absolutely need a sale now, right away. They're very open-minded to price. They don't have much choice left, and they need a sale. And she wasn't, when she was talking to me, she wasn't being malicious and, forget house, sellers from house number 1 and my favorites are house number 2. It wasn't that at all, the tone. It was more about she's trying to help them over house number 1, basically. So this brings up a lot of different angles to talk about. I get it that she has these sellers, house number 2 sellers, that are in big trouble. And she, out of a genuine goodness of wanting to help them, she's kind of pushing it. I get that part. But it does kind of go against, there's morality in trying to help them. And then there's fiduciary responsibility and kind of the rules that govern our industry. She's got a fiduciary responsibility to each seller. I don't think the sellers of house number 1 would be excited and feel good about her helping and steering us away from that house to help the other sellers. Even though sellers of house number 1, if they knew the situation of house number 2, might even themselves feel sorry for them. But that doesn't take away from the fact that, why is this agent steering buyers? And, well, let's just talk about us. I don't know how many other people she's done this to. I can only assume probably everybody who's going there, she's steering them that way to house number 2. I've been in this situation before. I've been in a situation where I didn't know the whole story. I'm working at selling a property. I didn't know that sellers were not forthcoming in necessarily telling me everything that's going on. I had one situation where they were getting a divorce. I didn't know. Did I need to know? Did it at all affect my ability to sell the home? I would venture to say it didn't matter if they were getting a divorce or not. I still had a responsibility to sell the home. Would it have changed things if I knew? I'd like to say no, because my responsibility is to sell the home. I've been working with other sellers. Well, they didn't tell me that they're behind on their mortgage payments. And actually, while the property was for sale, when I showed up at the property to leave some brochures there was a note on the door from the sheriff saying that they're going to be coming in and they had so many days to get out of the house. I didn't know that. So I'm saying what I didn't know because that agent, although she believes she knows everything going on with the sellers of house number 2 and everything going on with the sellers of house number 1, she may not. She may not know everything. So each situation, I believe, is its own. You have your own set of responsibilities with each seller. And those sellers are hiring you to do the best job you can to sell their property. And that should be the focus. And if you've exhausted all means and those buyers there's no way they're going to be able to buy that house, or they don't want to buy that house, and for whatever reason, once you've exhausted all means, then, maybe it opens a door to making another suggestion. But the suggestion is, or should not be, hey, these people are in trouble, because that just gives me, the buyer agent, also more ammunition than I should know. I shouldn't know that the sellers are in financial trouble. I shouldn't know as a buyer agent that They absolutely need a quick sale. All that should be negotiated and worked out without me knowing that the sellers are desperate. So she's not helping seller number one. She's also kind of not really totally helping seller number two. But she's trying, and she's trying to do the best she can, and she's prioritizing one seller, the desperate seller that is going to have a real financial problem if they don't sell, versus seller number one who maybe is not, or is in a much better financial position. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. I don't know if you could have been on the seller side, the buyer side. Let me know what you think the listing agent should do, or let me know your experiences in the comments below if you've been in a situation like this. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. And if you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. City of Toronto. We are focused on the freehold market just for the City of Toronto. So I've got detached, semis, and towns. These are average sold prices. And I got condos at the bottom. We're not really talking about the condo market in this show. This show's for the freehold market. Tomorrow, it's all about the condo market. However, the difference between average condo price and the average detached price for week ending September 24th is $1 million. That's the difference. It's slightly more actually, but rounding it down to $1 million. We're going to start off with the detached market. For week ending September 24th, 164 detached properties were sold, which is the same as the previous week, and 38 of those detached properties are sold at $2 million or more. Now 38 is one less than we sold the previous week. I want to talk about that a little bit. 38 represents 23% of all detached properties being sold. So 23%. And when we look at percentages, I've got them here in blue. When we look at 23, 24, we see average price up there, much higher. When we look at 15, 20, 18, average price is a bit lower. Or there's another way of looking at it. When we look at 38, 39, 41, 46, 42, 57 properties in a week selling at $2 million or more, that's when we see the highest average sold prices. But when the $2 million is kind of even, here we go, 16, 18, 16 is another one there. Average sold price is a bit more steady. So yes, property selling at $2 million or more of those obviously has a way of bringing up average sold price. And we're looking at that to kind of figure out what's happening now. Because if we go back to the beginning of May, average price was steadily on a decline. Then it looked like from the end of July, all of August to kind of into the beginning of September, maybe on the incline a little bit, but not by much. But the last couple of weeks, it shot way up there. The luxury market is a big factor in the overall average price being propped up over the last couple of weeks. Oh, let me go back, actually. I never told you what the average price actually was. It's currently, for week ending September 24th, sitting at $1,672,000. 1,672 is 1% higher than the same week a year ago. If we look at the blue, those are the average sold prices a year ago. They were also trending up at this time of the year as we head into the fall season. The median price of 1,406 is 6% higher than the same week a year ago. And the dotted line, which is a 4-week moving average, shows for a little while Prices, both average and median, were trending down. And now, as we head into the fall, they're starting to trend up again. 164 were sold. 54 of those sold, which is 33%. A third sold at list price or more. So a third are selling at list price or more. There's a bit of competition starting to develop there. Let's focus on these $2 million or more properties. Now, these are sold prices. When we look at how many sold, we said that 38 sold at $2 million or more, which is 23% of all detached properties sold. Breaking it down to between $3 million and $399, 10 of those sold. Sold at over $4 million, we had 8 properties selling just in the city of Toronto at over $8 million. One of those properties, just as a side note, was listed at $6,250,000. It's a lot, right? $6,250,000. It sold $550,000 over the list price. So just because a property is listed at $5 million, $6 million, whatever the case may be, you're thinking, yeah, we're going to negotiate down. There's some room to negotiate. Not on everyone. This one listed at $6,250 sold for $550 over the list price. Listings, we saw listings climbing from the end of September to the beginning, and now they're starting to drop a little bit. Active listings also were dropping. Now we're starting to see them climbing. This is just for the detached market. And months of inventory, a little bit steady, similar to last week. We're sitting at 3.9 months of inventory. Pretty much a balanced market. That's for the whole city. If we break the city of Toronto down into 9 different sections, 2 areas, 2 neighborhoods really stand out as being a bit more active or a bit more competitive, let's say that. So East York, Riverdale Beaches, that whole area, sitting at 2.9 months of inventory, and 65% of those sales sold at list price or more. There were 17 detached properties sold there. Average sold price, almost 1.6. The High Park, Parkdale area, average sold price, $1,746,000. Months of inventory there is sitting at 1.8 months of inventory. That's not a lot. That's a very aggressive area. 67% of those properties sold at list price or more. And if you quickly scan the other areas, 3.7 months of inventory, 3.4, 5.3, there's not a big difference. Scarborough, usually a bit more aggressive, but sitting at 4 months of inventory, but the whole city average is 3.9. But these 2 areas really stand out. Let's look at the detached sales from bedrooms. 3 bedrooms versus 4 bedrooms. For week ending September 24th, this is the 3-bedroom chart. 80 3-bedroom detached properties sold. So sales have been climbing there. And out of those 80, 8 of those sold at $2 million or more. Average sold price is $1,435,000. Average sold price has been climbing for 3-bedroom detached properties. Compared to last year, 1,435 is 8% lower. And again, if we look at the blue, that's the same week a year ago. That's what the blue numbers represent. Coming into the fall, last year prices jumped up. That's what's happening now. Same thing this year. Here's the 4 bedrooms. 49 4-bedroom detached properties sold. 18 of those sold at $2 million or more. Average sold price is sitting at $2,050,000. It's a little difficult to say which way prices are going for 4 bedrooms because we've got these big peaks and valleys. A lot of that, again, has to do with the luxury market. Some weeks we get 18 of those selling. Some weeks it's 28. Some weeks it's 8. It's a bit all over the place. So it's kind of hard to figure out, look, overall, which way are prices trending for 4-bedroom detached properties. I can tell you, though, $2,050,000 compared to the same week a year ago is 4% lower. And when we compare 3 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms, well, we can see there's a $615,000 difference in average sold price. Sales also way different. The 3 bedroom, we sold 80, the 4 bedroom, 49. The price point has a lot to do with which one has more sales versus the other. Let's look at semi-detached properties. Sales, sure, they're over the last 3 weeks since we've kind of come into the fall market, sales are a little bit higher each week, but only by one. It's really tough to say we're trending upwards, but technically we are. But just by one each week, 48 semi-detached properties sold. What's also climbing is the amount of semis sold at 1,500,000 or more, which is 11 for week ending September 24th. Average sold price has been climbing kind of the end of August and into the fall. We're now sitting at 1,225,000. August, July and August was the lowest we've seen average sold price for semis this year. And now with it climbing, average sold prices kind of coming in line to where we've been at the lower part of where we've been for most of the year. 1,225,000 is 7% lower than the same week a year ago. The median price of 1,188,000 is 10% lower. The dotted line, the 4-week moving average, shows the prices are dropping, but now starting to curve back up again. Here's months of inventory sitting at 2.6 months of inventory, which is the top end of a seller's market. Here's townhouses. Now these are freehold townhouses, not condo townhouses. For week ending September 24th, was almost a record week with 26 freehold townhomes being sold. The only time, well, I've got a whole year on the board here, and there's only been 1 week that shows more sales, which we sold 31. This week we've sold 26. One of those sold at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price, though, has come way down to $1,034,000. Overall, average sold price for freehold townhomes has been trending down. $1,034,000 is 14% lower than the same week a year ago. The median price of $960,000 is 13% lower than the same week a year ago. And months of inventory sitting at 2.4. Half, though, of these freehold townhomes sold at list price or more, 50%. Here's a quick summary of months of inventory. Pretty much in most areas, you're going to experience a balanced market, but it's kind of at the bottom end of a balanced market. So you're going to come across situations where there is competition and there are multiple offers. Sometimes properties will be listed with an offer date. Other times they're listed at, we'll say, a fair market price for the current market in the current neighborhood. But if it's a desirable home in a desirable neighborhood, you might find buyers looking to compete for that home. Even if an offer date strategy was not part of the cards, there may be situations where you find yourself in competition. If we look at months of inventory compared to where they were a year ago, well, for detached, we're currently at 3.9. Same week a year ago, we were at 3.3 months of inventory. So a little bit less, not a huge change. Semis, we're currently at 2.6, last year 2.4. Towns, last year 2.4, we're now at 3.7. So for sure, there's some differences versus this year compared to last year. Not a huge difference, though, in months of inventory. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.